I'd like to welcome everybody to the 5Es weekly update. I know everybody's been working hard. I know people have been working extra, so I thank you all. Still going forward, we do have the $750 bonuses for all shifts, $300 for nurse techs, and possibly overtime for travelers next week, but I'll let you guys know. Currently, we are offering overtime for travelers up until Monday, and I anticipate that will continue. So if you're interested and you're a traveler, please reach out to me. Right now we're doing pretty good on the day shift, but we do need a lot of help on the night shift. So if anyone's interested, definitely reach out to me. Please, if you can, fill out the nurse retention survey and put it up next to the huddle board. There's a manila folder that you can put it in, and just give us your input, and we really would appreciate it. Thank you all again, and I'm just going to go over a little bit of what's coming next week. Just two quick announcements. Just if you guys can help with stocking things, if everybody can chip in, and just if the caddies are running low, stock them if you can. Also, there's one update as far as COVID tests can also go down in the tube station now. They just have to be double bagged. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up about what's coming up next week. Our unit has been chosen to start this new progressive mobility plan as a pilot so that we can test it out and provide our recommendations for this new protocol to the rest of the system. So this is a unique opportunity for all of us to be able to contribute to something that will dramatically impact this health system. So it is a progressive mobility plan that deals with the egress assessment, and I'll kind of go through things a little bit more in depth as we go along. But the main thing, why is it important? The main thing, it reduces the amount of patients that we discharge to SNFs, which all of us know that if we had a loved one, that would be the last thing we would want our loved one to go through after being admitted to the hospital. So it really leads to better patient outcomes, but it also reduces the amount of patient load because we're not waiting as long to discharge patients, and we're sending them to better outcomes, which is their home. So the main change will be when we're admitting patients from the ED, under the navigator section, as you see in this slide, there will be an option to do an egress assessment, which is very simple. It's just basically asking the patient, can you sit on the edge of the bed? Then can you stand? Then can you march in place? And then can you walk forward and backward? Based on the egress assessment, it will ask you, could they do this? And if they couldn't do this, it'll ask you, is this a change from baseline? And appropriate protocol will be triggered based on whatever you enter in the navigator section under their admission history. So for that admission assessment under navigators, that is something that you do have to go into. It's not under admission required documentation yet. It will be a part of the full rollout when it goes system-wide. So the egress, when you settle on a score, if it's chair fast or if it's +2 or +1, which would be needing assistance, it will ask you, is this a change from baseline? You simply just have to say yes or no, and it will populate the work list for nurses, nurse techs, and mobility specialists in the future to ambulate with the patient based on certain times of the day. And a PT as well, which is a really cool thing, is going to be able to check those work list tasks off as well. So it's a team effort. PT will be focusing on 2s and 3s, which would be +1s, +2s. The bedbound patients will be getting up with lifts, and that will predominantly be our staff, the nurses and nurse techs, and mobility specialists will help out with 2s, 3s, or chair fast, needing assistance, and walking independently. So when you settle on a patient, it'll ask you, is this a change from baseline? If it's a change from baseline, it will alert the doctor to order a PT consult. There's some exclusionary criteria in there. So if a patient's comfort care, or if they're bed fat, or have bed rest orders, there's a couple different things where it won't even qualify them to get that PT consult. So that first initial assessment will drive the work list tasks for the team, including, all the team members involved, mobility specialists, which will be coming our way, and PT, nurses, nurse techs, so that it'll be on our work list. And as part of a daily assessment, this is part of the pilot initially, we are going to just update the egress assessment daily. So if it hasn't changed, you would just chart the same thing. But it will be on your work list to update the egress assessment daily. And this will drive further tasks for the next day. So as I said earlier, the doctor will get an alert if there's a change from baseline, which will help them order PT consults earlier on in the patient's stay, which will help us identify issues with mobilization earlier on in their stay. This will eventually also become part of nurses' ability to put this PT order in. Right now, we're currently getting that approved right now, but eventually the nurses will be able to just put that in as a protocol. So this is the example of what the work list will look like. And when PT documents their visits, it will take times off of our work list so that we're not duplicating efforts. We know that's going to be a little bit more to ask, although we're doing a lot of this already. So with that in mind, the added help of a mobility specialist and possibly maybe even an extra tech may be able to help drive this even further. So this is just an example of the daily assessment. This is part of the pilot, and we're not 100% sure that we will include this daily assessment. So whatever you guys input on this would be well appreciated. As you can see, there's exclusionary criteria that would make it so that a patient could not get the test. If they're on comfort care, if they're on bed rest, if there's anything medically that prevents the patient from getting up. So this is just an example of the alert that may pop up. Right now it's just for doctors. Eventually it may be for nurses as well. And it's just going to remind us that, hey, there's been a change in baseline, so we need to get a PT consult, and that's it. So let me know what you guys' thoughts are. I'm going to provide some handouts and kind of go in depth next week, and we'll have PT kind of helping us out too, to kind of walk us through some mobility assessments and just go through this. The point of this video is just to kind of give you guys a general overview so that on Monday we can go in a little bit more in depth and kind of explain things, whatever questions you have.